Hello and welcome back to Sarah's Joyful Journey. I'm Sarah Joy and I'm so glad that you could join me for my January book wrap-up. So January ended up being a pretty good month as far as reading goes. I did get 7 books done. We'll go over some other stats in my little book journal here in just a moment because I also picked my favorite book of January, which is kind of sad because it's a reread, but we'll go into more of that in just a minute. All right, so in no particular order, we're going to go over the books that, or some stats right now. So I read, again, 7 books. 2 of those were physical books. 4 were audiobooks. 1 was on Kindle. And I had 2 5-star reads. Sadly, both of them were rereads, so it's still, it's not like new 5-star reads. I had a 4-star read, 4 3-star reads, and then I had 2 that I did not finish. All right, so let me go over to my little list. So again, this is my journal that I got, and I love it because it allows me to do quick, short reviews because I don't like to do huge reviews. I don't like to have to write a whole lot about the book. I know either I like it or I don't, and I do have my little printer so that I can print my little book stickers. So for January DNFs, the first book I DNF'd was Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This one, and that honestly came down to a trigger, and it was a subject that I didn't want to go and deal with, so I did get that book. The second one I DNF'd, and I may come back to it at another point because it was okay, and I should have grabbed it, but I don't know where I put it. It's not close. All right, was Dawn of Onyx. I DNF'd it because it was moving really slow, which ironically enough, one of my other ones was moving very slow as well. But okay, so we're gonna go to what my 5-star reads were. And like I said, they were both rereads. I listened to these next 4 books all on audio. All right, so my first 5-star read of January was the reread of Quicksilver. This is one of my favorite books. I absolutely love it. The trailers are coming out for book 2. I'm so hyped. I cannot wait for this story to continue. It's got that perfect mix of romance and fantasy and spice within this that makes it an ideal book for me. Sometimes with fantasy, if it's too fantasy forward and there's not the romance in it, honestly, I can get a little lost. I ain't gonna lie, but I think that's because I am definitely a romance reader. It's my preferred genre, has been my preferred genre pretty much since I was a teenager. So fantastic read. Kingfisher, he's got a filthy mouth. And if you like spice and filthy mouths, this one is definitely a good one. I don't want to give a whole lot of spoilers, but I found the magic system to be different. And maybe it's pretty common, but I just like the way that it worked. It had fae, it had vampires in it, and it was just super, super good. So that's my first 5-star read of January. My second, and I still need to get the sticker off this book. I hate stickers on books. But the second was Fourth Wing. And again, this is a reread for me, and I needed to reread it because book 3 came out. And I'll give some spoiler-free thoughts on that book when we get to it because I did read that as well. So I listened to this one on audio. It is so good. So good. Really, really enjoyed this book. Next, on to my 4-star reads. I had 1, yeah, so it works out. And then we'll go into my 3-star reads. So my 4-star read was going to be Iron Flame. Again, a reread. Enjoyed it just as much the second time around as I did the first time around. I am pretty invested in this story at this point, and I'm excited to see what continues to happen with Xaden and with Violet. The new book helped, but it didn't. So yeah, this was definitely a wonderful book that I enjoyed reading. It has got one of the spiciest scenes I have ever read in a book, but it's one that just makes you go, ooh, that's so good. Let's just say it involves a chair. So good. All right. So now to my 3-star reads. We're going to start with this one just because it goes with it. I finished Onyx Storm. I did listen to this. I went through it really, really quickly. It only took me a few days to get through this book, and I've got the special edition, so love this book for the beauty of it. This was a 3-star book for me. And it was a 3-star book for me because in a lot of ways, it left me on a cliffhanger that I didn't like. I kind of felt like it answered some things and then it left you on a huge, huge cliffhanger. I know there's a lot of people out there saying that they're not going to continue this series, and I can kind of see where they're coming from. However, I still really enjoyed this book. The story progression was good. It introduced a lot of things. We got a lot of questions answered. If you're an Andarna fan, this one is really good. It was heartbreaking at times. I nearly cried at some scenes. Xaden really kind of progresses as a character as well. And it was fun to see him walk that balance between himself and Venin. And that's not a spoiler because we know that he turned Venin in this one. But the way it ends is what makes me want to read the next book, because I got to find out how this all happened, because it's very much a cliffhanger. However, if the next book is another 3-star read, or it's even lower and it doesn't progress the story in a similar fashion as I am hoping for, I may not continue the series. Right now, I am definitely committed to reading the next book. We have some time before it's going to come out. I heard it's going to be 2027. So I'm sure I will end up at some point, maybe later this year, rereading this book. I might do it this month, maybe in March, because I went through it so quickly that I'm sure I missed parts. So what I want to do, instead of listening to the audio version, is I actually want to physically read the book a second time, because I know that so much happened and I missed some details. And by going back and reading it again, I'm going to get more of those details that I missed before. Or it's going to solidify some things like, oh yeah, that really did happen, and it makes you think. So this was a good book. I can recommend it, but it was not quite as good as Fourth Wing. Not quite as good as Iron Flame. But I still felt very necessary to the overall story of the progression of them. So yes, be prepared for a book hangover, because I was mad and frustrated and totally depressed about this book, how it ended. For a couple days, I couldn't pick up another book. I tried, but it kind of led to a book hangover. Okay, the next 3-star read that I want to go over was a super quick book. I read it in a couple of days. I'm going to show you the little photo of it. It was one where it popped up across Facebook, and it was for two authors, Shayla Black and Lexi Blake. Blake. And it's one of those, it was a shorter story. I want to say it was only a couple hundred pages. It was really fast. It was kind of like a trashy romance, I guess would be a good way to do it. It was a wide choose. It was super spicy. There was some plot, but not a whole lot. But it was just one of those that was like a good distraction book. Oh, I wrote it down. It was 226 pages. So super, super short. There's others in this series. And I think when I bought it, I bought like 12 or 15 ebooks for like $30. They were on sale. I might go back and read them. I might not. But it was called Their Virgin Captive. I know you can't really see that. But it was funny. It was spicy. It was Why Choose. It's 4 brothers. Yeah, I don't know. It was okay. Like, I enjoyed the book. It was a good escape. I wouldn't say that, I don't know. It's almost a 2-star read for me, but it was bordering that line. And I tend to be a little bit generous with my book reviews and my thoughts on how books go. So I did give it closer to that 3. But yeah, I mean, it was just different. Okay. The next book that I read, and it's part of a series. Actually, the next 2 books are part of a series. I will not be continuing with this series. I had super high hopes for this book. I was super excited about it. It's dark romance, and I really enjoy dark romance. I also enjoy contemporary romance and things like that. I've read some great contemporary romance in the past week. But I read Promise and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. It was a Persephone and Hades retelling. I'm not hugely into Greek mythology. It's not really my thing. It's okay. No harm, no foul. I read Neon Gods by Katie Robert, which is also a Hades and Persephone retelling. And I enjoyed that one so much more than this one. This one, for me, started out on a high. I was super excited because he's a doctor. He's associated with the mob. She's a mobster's daughter. And it just felt like it was going to be a fantastic book based on the description. It just was not for me. The story kind of progressed and it felt almost like a Groundhog Day, like it was kept repeating the days, but the story really didn't go anywhere. And then it was just kind of like, it ended. Now, there is a short story in here called Sweet Sin, which is also about these 2 characters. And I just couldn't bring myself to read it. I didn't care enough about the characters by the end of the book to continue it. I was definitely disappointed in it. It had some great spicy scenes. For me, it had a lot of potential to be a fabulous book, which is why it ended up being a 3-star read for me. But it just fell short. Again, that's my personal opinion. We're all entitled to our personal opinions. If you love this book, that is so fantastic for you. But it wasn't it for me. It just kind of left me wanting more that I didn't get. It had some dark elements in it. It had some things that made me cringe. It has blood play in it, and that I'm figuring, it's a little bit in here, but I'm figuring out that is not my thing. So I think that also took away from this book for me. I think you can do dark romance without that element. I know people have their things and they can be into it, and maybe that's your thing, and that's fine too. But it was not for me. So sadly, kind of disappointed in this. I wanted this book to be so much better than it was, and it just wasn't. After that book, I definitely wanted something that was quick and fast. So one thing that I've done this year is I have wrapped up probably over 100 books. I have paperbacks, and these are all books that I haven't read in my collection. I have paperback, hardback. They're all about the same thickness, things like that. And I've been steadily picking through them, which has been so far a pretty good way for me to get through books. There's a couple times where I've pulled a book that I've not been excited to read at that moment. I'll show you. Let's see if I can get it. So I did pull this book, Naked in Death. Now I'm excited to read this, so it will probably get read here pretty soon based on one of the books that I recently finished for February. So we'll talk about that in February's books. And then I pulled, it's up there, I pulled 2 fantasy books in a row. And we'll talk about them more when I get to what I'm currently reading and working on, as well as my next read. Anyway, because I pulled 2 fantasy books, I put one up to read at a different time. I still very much want to be it, but I am a mood reader, and I just that one wasn't hitting me in the mood. It's still one that I absolutely want to read, and I am excited to read it because I read like the first chapter and it was very good. It was by John Gwynne. It's The Shadow of the Gods, and it's going to be epic, but it's also going to be one of those where there's not a love story in it. It's an epic fantasy, which means I'm really going to have to pay attention and focus. And where I was sitting when I pulled that book, I was not quite ready for that because I have a lot of schoolwork to read. I have a lot of personal development stuff to read, and I just didn't have time to read a heavy book. And I kind of got into a heavy book, so I chose the first book I drew, and I'm putting that one to the side for now. Anyway, so when I went to pick, I pretty much knew what this book was going to be. And I wanted something small, and that's what drove the decision to pick this book, is I wanted something short and quick. So I pulled the book, and you can see it's very short. So when I pulled the book, I suspected before I opened it that this was the exact book that I ended up pulling, and it was. So I read Unbreak Me by C.A. Greco. It's in the Magnolia Falls Ranch series, and I bought this off of TikTok, so it is signed, and I have book 2 as well. I just got an email from my boss, so I'm gonna have to go read that in a little bit. Anyway, it was very, 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 very good. I enjoyed the story. It's a quick little book. It was only like 200 and something pages, 209 pages. And then it has an epilogue. One thing that I didn't like about this book, hang on. Right, sorry about that. My daughter had something delivered and the dog barked, but that's okay. So we're back. Anyway, I did really enjoy this book. It was not spicy. I think I gave this book a 1 chili spice. Where did it go? Yeah, it's on this page. Yeah, it was like a 1 chili spice. There was like 1 or 2 scenes. They were great, but it wasn't a spicy book. It just wasn't spicy, which is fine. Not every book has to be spicy. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed their progression together. I wish it had been a little bit longer, which is why I gave it a 3-star instead of a 4-star. But I very much enjoyed this. It was a quick, easy read. I finished it in, I think, a day. So yeah, I really liked it. I do have book 2 up there, which deals with a different guy. I think it's a different brother. I didn't look honestly that close at it. But yeah, so enjoyable on that end. Now, what I am currently reading and what I plan to start. So for the most part, one of these I did start in February. One of them I started in January. And if you watch my Joyful Life vlog series, you will hear me talk about this next book a lot. It's one of those personal development books where I'm working on reading more nonfiction and using my brain and learning things, not just reading smut. There's nothing wrong if that's all you want to read. No judgment. But for me, I'm a person who loves knowledge and loves to learn new things, especially if it's about passion and health and psychology. And this one very much goes into the psychology realm. So therefore, I had that desire to read it. I am reading The Let Them Theory by Mel Robinson. I am on chapter, I think, 12. So I'm just over halfway through. I typically read 1 chapter a day. It's not getting done today, but that's okay. But I do really like it. And it says right here, a life-changing tool that millions of people can't stop talking about. And I see why they say that. A lot of the things she's talking about in here are things that I already do, which is actually very helpful for me because I realize that I'm on the right track with where I want to be and how I'm progressing myself. And myself is my standard because I can't control other people. There are things in here that she has said that have brought up that I really need to work on some things. And that's fine too, because we're always a work in progress. We're not perfect, and we never really will be. So I am loving this book. I like that it's been easy to read throughout the whole book, even the challenging parts. And it was so funny because she was talking about coworkers and how you can respond to things. And I definitely got convicted and had to work on some other things. But it's all good. So I'm really, really enjoying this. I know that I will get this finished in February. So I'll give you my full thoughts for our February book. And the next one is a brand new book that just came out, and I just started it. Again, I'm trying to read one chapter a day, but this goes back to my health journey. And that's why I'm reading that. I'm reading books that will help me improve my physical health and things like that, as that has been my focus now for almost 3 years. And I have done well. I have lost and maintained 100 pounds. I'm still working towards losing another 80 to 100 pounds. That first 100 pounds came off pretty easy. The second, not so much. But I chose this book because one thing that I'm doing this year is I'm working on getting a master health certified coach to be a health and wellness coach. And I'm going to eventually be board certified as a health and wellness coach because I love it. It uses psychology, and it's something I am extremely passionate about and want to help others with. So if you want to know more about my health journey and not just what I'm reading, you should go check out my other videos. I do recipe videos. I talk about daily life, the struggles of trying to lose and maintain weight and eat a healthy lifestyle while working on the mindset. Because again, my background is psychology. Mindset affects a whole lot. Anyway, I bought Born to Walk, and it came out a couple weeks ago. And it's a heavy book. It's pretty dense. So I wanted to read this because I need to work on my exercise. And here's the thing. I'm finding that chronic exercise has been an issue for me, which is why I go in cycles of all or nothing exercise. And then it's just that. I'm either full tilt, heading for it, or I'm not. And I need to work on finding that happy balance. And I've done a lot of reading about this, finding that happy balance. I'm still working towards finding that happy balance, but this is one that I am hoping will continue to inspire me because walking is my favorite activity, but I also want to keep it in balance. Walking daily is fantastic. Walking long distance daily is fantastic. But I'm also finding in my busy schedule that I don't have time for that. So I'm hoping that this will inspire me to get out and do it, even though I don't have time, and not allow myself to feel like I'm beating myself up for not achieving this chronic state of exercise. So yeah, super excited about this. I've read one chapter. I was supposed to read chapter 2 today. It ain't getting done because I have so much to do, but that's okay because I can pick up on it again tomorrow. Then, what am I reading next? This is a preview for February, of course. Or what am I currently reading? This is one of the 2 books I pulled back to back, both fantasies. I pulled When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. And I pulled it and I was like, oh, cool. I have this on audiobook. I'll just listen to it. I'll pull another book and I'll read that. And that's when I pulled Shadow of the Gods. And I went, okay, these are 2 big, heavy books. And then I started listening to this one and was kind of getting lost in the audio. And I was like, wait, after my experience with Onyx Storm, I want to make sure that I am getting everything. But there's a lot of specialized words and characters names and creature names in here, which is fantastic. But for me, I hate not knowing how to pronounce them. So I am listening and reading at the same time. I am 3 chapters in. Hopefully I'll get some more time to, I've read 3 chapters, so I'm 30 pages in. And I love it. One of the things I'll show you that it talks about right at the beginning, it says about the book. It says, this book contains explicit content, dark elements that may be triggering for some. And I went, ooh, a fantasy romance that's dark sounds like perfection for me. So I am super, super excited to go through this book. Like I said, I'm listening and physically reading at the same time. I have my Audible on like 1.7 so that, because I read faster than Audible goes, and I always listen at higher speeds on Audible anyway, usually about 1.5, because it doesn't sound as distorted. So right now it sounds a little distorted, but like I said, I'm physically reading along with it. And what that is doing is it's giving me the pronunciation of the characters. And I'm really, really excited about this book. It's going to be so very, very good. Or at least my hopes are so high right now for this one. I know book 2 is coming out. I know some people have mixed feelings on this based on some reviews, but I am very excited to get through this book. And I do have the special edition. I did buy it before the special edition came out, and I had a copy, but it's got beautiful artwork and things like that. And I'm super excited. But that brings me to what am I going to read next? And I'm probably going to start this book either today or tomorrow, because I don't want to bring this one with me to work to read during downtime, because I want to listen to it at the same time. And that's too hard to do at work. So I do need a book that I can read easily at work. And I'm ready to read this one. It came out last month. It's for Valentine's Day. So I want to start it, like I said, either today or tomorrow. It's called My Funny Demon Valentine. And it's got the sprayed edges. And I figured it was going to be perfect. So I'm definitely excited to get that going. And I just realized that I have not planned as well as I would have liked. And I'm going to pause right here so I can go and get the books that I bought recently, because it's not just about reading, it's about what I bought as well. All right. Now, shopping. Book shopping last year, I did so much. Actually, most of the books that I own, I bought last year. However, this year, I have to endeavor to not buy as many books, which is good from the standpoint of I'll get through a lot of my TBR, but I have to be very selective about the books that I am buying, because we're saving for a cruise, we're saving for a house, and I'm paying for my certificate program. So my book buying budget is nearly zero. I should be able to buy like 1, maybe 2 books a week. I was buying 3 or 4 books a week, sometimes more. Sometimes, some weeks I bought none, and then I bought like 10. I can't be doing that this year, so I have to be selective. But anyway, the books that I got, and I have book 1 of this one. It's wrapped up somewhere, and hopefully I'll pull it soon, but I am excited about it. It's another romantasy. This is book 2 in the series of The Stars Are Dying. This is The Night is Defying. And it's absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous book. I love that this one's got the purple foil on it, and it's just beautiful. And there's the inside of that, which I think is very, very, very cool. This is probably one that I will take the dust jacket off when I read, just because I don't want the dust jacket to get damaged. But yeah, that is one of the 2 books that I've bought recently. The second one also just came out, and it might get read in February because it is kind of sort of could fit into that Valentine's Day theme. So I bought Truth or Beard, and it's got thread painted edges, and I was just intrigued by it. It is the Winston brothers. It's in that series, and it's about twins. And it's about a girl named Jessica who falls in love with the twin she didn't expect. So yeah, I'm excited to read that one as well. Well, that's pretty much all I have for my January recap. I have already finished 2 books for February. Yeah, I've already finished 2 books for February, but we'll talk about those next month for sure. Let me know down below if you prefer a once a month update or if you want a twice a month update, because I would be happy to do one mid-month on how my reading is going, and then we can do a recap at the end of the month. So one thing that I do want to finish up with before I let you go is in my little tracker book, it does have Battle of the Books. So each month I am picking my favorite read, and then I'm going to do a Battle of the Books throughout this whole year, which will give me my winning book by the end of the year. So what it was my favorite read of January. Again, it's almost kind of sad because it's a reread, but it is what it is. Quicksilver is my January pick. Like I said previously, 5-star book, both times through, absolutely love it. It is beefy, and I cannot wait for the second book to come out. I will be pre-ordering it soon. But yes, that is my January winner. Oh, right. I would love to know what you're reading. If you have any book recommendations that you think I should read, comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that every time I talk about what I'm reading, you will be alerted to it. Have a wonderful and joyful day. Bye for now.